Hello again. Well, I'm sorry my previous video got cut off, so we're going to pick up right where we left off, finishing our discussion of connectivism. And we had just stopped by saying that connectivism has some unsteady knowledge that learners have to track and stay with as it changes in time. All right. In order to conduct my exploratory review, I collected data from seven journals in several different disciplines. I did an initial search for connectivism and then connectivist learning, but because it was such a new learning theory, there wasn't a huge depth of research there. So I also looked for learning management systems and paired it with the terms both K-12 and communication, respectively, and then all together. I eliminated any articles that were not in English, were duplicates from multiple journals, had to do solely with higher education, or were completely irrelevant to the educational environment that I'm discussing. Finally, I examined those remaining articles for themes and reviewed their sources sections to find more articles that would help in my exploration of learning management systems to further constructivist learning. Four research themes became apparent throughout this review. The first was the lack of pedagogy that really guides the learning management systems. The second was the programs, the LMS programs that have already been pioneered and what's taking place there. The third was the effects on the stakeholders, and that was the teachers, the students, and then the communication between them, and then also the communication between the parents and the community, several different sets of communication groupings. And finally, were the drawbacks of using LMS. There's a large group of people who think it really does prevent some things in the classroom or just present a lot of challenges. And an LMS is an open online learning environment. So are MOOCs, so are Moodles. Social networks and Web 2.0 are more producer consumer sites, but these all came up over and over and over again in the research, in some of the articles I chose and some of the articles I did not choose. And these things, these items, can be used like a learning management system or be linked within a learning management system, but they are not the focus of this literature review. In addressing pedagogy, today's educational systems show big disconnect between the use of philosophy and technology integration. Learning management systems have been put into place to answer the need for a new pedagogical approach, but educators need online pedagogy as well. It is not just an answer to classroom needs, it is a whole new classroom itself. Learning management systems allow for data collection, communication, collaboration, production, and consumption, but there's no consensus on how to do it. Therefore, there's a large lack of structure. In pioneering so far, there's a growing adoption of LMS in K-12 education. 90% of K-12 schools have been shown to implement LMS in some way, and Edline estimates that 100,000 of the 130,000 public high schools in the United States are using learning management systems. There's currently a variety of approaches for using these. So when I say 90% of the schools, that could be, district mandates that require collaborative use amongst teachers and students, but then that could also be only administrative paperwork, holders, and data collection. The pioneered programs are not currently very guided, and therefore they don't yield a lot of research results. The effects on the stakeholders is probably the most important because you want to know what it's doing to the people involved. There's a growing acceptance among K-12 educators of the collaboration as a necessity for high-quality learning, and that's because it's fueled in the open online tools. There's also an increase in the technological tools that teachers express a need for as changes in the classroom increase. Most teachers feel that learning management systems promote and support their face-to-face instruction that's already taking place. But the biggest struggle is that educators are not quite ready to just be facilitators. So there's a little bit of a give and take that educators haven't quite come to terms with yet. When it comes to students, due to the ability to collect all this data, you can really organize learning for the student themselves, but there's no real set of factors to predict success in K-12 students when using an LMS. They have been shown to help students go beyond the basic content delivery and really analyze and criticize constructively other people's work, which has actually been shown to increase scores in science, math, and English language learners, but this is where they've been used the most. Other disciplines we're not quite sure yet. Learning management systems provide an opportunity for students to connect nodes on their own. It is a communication pipeline. When learning management systems began in the K-12 environment, they were used only for management, but in the recent years, they've expanded to include a new way for online communication. The communication tools that exist in learning management systems help parents, students, teachers to all increase their use of various media applications. And learning management systems now act as a pipeline to not only store information, but carry information back and forth. And to have learning management systems with structure, many argue that you absolutely need to foster communication. Despite the growth and all the positive feedback, there are tons of drawbacks and restrictions to learning management systems. COP said that people can now learn on online networks, but that doesn't ensure success because there's going to be a variety of learning experiences that take place. Online communities have been hailed as this new promise for education, but many still believe that the web actually limits education and learning. The three challenges that have been brought up in several different studies are: one, self-direction. Students need responsibility to do this, and K-12 is kind of a hard place to teach all of the responsibility of choosing your goals, etc. Presence, which implies motivation, communication, and collaboration skills. And then also digital literacy, where students have to edit, produce, create, innovate, be flexible. These are all things that students struggle with in the K-12 environment, so structure is going to be necessary. And there really, over and over again, I can't say this enough, needs to be a focus and a direction to continue with any hope for success. And finally, the 21st century classroom has been presented as everything from glamorous, answer to educational problems to just, a fading new tool that's been overrated. And it would be unfair to say that these are completely new tools, but there are new developments that happen often. And in K-12 education, it's hard to keep up with this. All of the articles I read, whether positive or negative, declared that LMS and connectivism in the K-12 classroom is really missing structure. And the pioneering examples were not deep enough to show how the students learned and why the systems worked and to what extent the parents and teachers and students were involved. Even Simons who introduced connectivism, said a good teacher will utilize the technology available to build a class and then use the theories related to connectivism to conduct a class. But then what is a good teacher? Where is that coming from? So home support has been previously identified as one of the most influential environmental elements in student achievement, and the support often comes in communication in the K-12 learning environment. Using constructivist learning can really open up this learning theory and be, universally presented to the stakeholders as a way to involve students, parents, and teachers in this learning. The shift to a 21st century classroom strongly affects the role of teachers, students, and parents, and we can only hope to find more research on learning management systems and how they can effectively be integrated into the K-12 environment using the connectivist learning theory. Thanks, and I hope you enjoyed both of these presentations, part 1 and part 2.